Ralph Fiennes has called for trigger warnings for soft audiences to be ditched. The award-winning actor says theatregoers should be left shocked and disturbed. Joining me now to take a look at this story is actor Peter Egan. Thank you, Peter, for joining the show. So, Peter, are you disagreeing with Rafe? Is it Rafe or is it Ralph? How'd you say? Rafe. Do you disagree with him?
I think it is Rafe. Well, I don't necessarily disagree with him, but I'm not entirely sure why he's asking for that warning to be removed. Because whenever I've been in the theatre and there has been either a gunshot or some kind of very loud special effect, I've always felt that for at least 30 seconds after that, you kind of lose the audience because they're responding to the effect if they haven't been pre-warned. And of course, there are people with nervous dispositions and stuff like that. And so quite a lot of laughter and a conversation can go on after the effect has happened. So I'm not entirely sure why he's asking for it. I mean, he's a great actor and I admire him hugely. So I'm sure he has a very good reason for it, but I'm not entirely sure what that reason is.
So, Peter, is it just... So is that what a trigger... Can you explain what a trigger warning is? I've never seen a trigger warning when I've gone into a theatre. But I've got to say, the last time I went to a theatre was to watch Harry Potter on Broadway in New York. I haven't actually been in one in London since. Oh, yes, I have. No, I went to a few and I was Secretary of State, but I was never given a trigger warning. So what is one? What does it look like? How do you get it? What does it say?
Well, I think that someone would announce at the beginning of the play that there will be a gunshot or in the second half of this play. And that comes up as a trigger warning. I would think they would also put it, I would think, in the program as well. And of course, I mean, people with a nervous disposition would want to be warned about that kind of thing. I think a lot of it is to do with insurance and sort of human resources and things like that, but protecting audiences. I mean, audiences are, I mean, if you have a big, like you see on your screen now, if you have a huge audience and you're doing a very serious play, I mean, harnessing their attention and their energy is always a challenge anyway, even for great actors like Ralph Fiennes. Having something that's going to surprise them, I suppose you might think is going to be of benefit to the event. Audiences are strange anyway. They've developed over the years since the 70s, since the predominance of television and stuff like that, that many audiences don't feel, I think, that actors can hear them when they're distracted and talking about other things or telephones are going off. I think that's much bigger, much more of a problem than having a warning about a gunshot.
Do you know, I agree with you. Mobile phones shouldn't be allowed in theatres. But is that the only thing that you're warned about, a trigger warning? Because it seems to me as though if that's all it was, Rafe wouldn't be saying that. Because I was given the impression, I wrote about this in my column today in the Daily Mail, I wrote it yesterday for today's column, that I was given the impression that other things were, you know, against your sensitivities, like comedy, you know, humour, cultural, whatever. And I just think that, you know, plays on the stage, they're there to take you out into a different world and a different place for the time that you're there. They're there to stir your emotions. They're there to get a reaction out of you. And if you're given... And for me, it sounds like a trigger warning is almost a spoiler. I mean, I don't like spoilers. Why would I read a book if I've been given a spoiler? Because you want that sense of jeopardy and intrigue to keep you going. Yeah. And you do in the theatre as well. So isn't it a bit like giving someone a spoiler, giving them a trigger warning?
Yeah, certainly I would take that point. Yes, it does. It takes a surprise element out of it. But I think it's more to do with people protecting the nerves of those that are delicate in terms of their nervous system, perhaps. I mean, there's been huge changes in my lifetime in the theatre. I started in this business in the 60s when there was censorship. And so, I mean, I celebrated and lived through the lifting of censorship in, I think it was 1968. And, you know, the world of theatre in the 60s was extraordinary because if you wanted to see something that was shocking, you had to join a club and go to the Royal Court on a Sunday night. So, you know, our appetite and the whole business has changed phenomenally in the last 50 or 60 years anyway. I think that the whole business of holding an audience's attention, and the audience is so used to a film or television experience that the short attention that you have to deal with is a huge problem, I think.
Have you ever been triggered in the theatre? Has anything ever upset you when you've been in an audience?
as an audience member.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, never. No. I'm quite up to being frightened and surprised in the theatre. I mean, as I've spent my life doing it, I mean, I rather love the idea that something will possibly shock me out of my seat. Of course, people love it in a film because, and you can have a conversation after it when the film, because you don't disturb. The film is set and it just carries on. You don't disturb the movement of the story when it happens on film. But when it happens on live on stage, there is always that. That problem. That's also why live theatre is so exciting and thrilling, because you can be affected in that way by surprising elements.
Peter, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. I loved him in Downton. Loved you in Downton.
Thank you. It's kind of.
We rewatched it all at home actually just a few weeks ago. Great to speak to you. I hope I get to that one game one day. Panel, over to you. So, what do you think about trigger warnings in a theatre?
Well, I thought that we were talking about apples and pears. I quite understand if it's a strobe lighting or a gunshot or something, and you would may warn the audience. But I thought what Ray Fiennes was talking about was, completely redundant warnings that a play contains, sex, violence, murder, whatever. I mean, look, think of the ancient Greeks, where all of this started. Oedipus Rex. Imagine putting that on today. You'd have to say, this has got murder, rape. Murder, incest. A man, the lead character has sex with his mother and then blinds himself. I mean, imagine the trigger warnings necessary. They managed somehow in ancient Greece.
Did they do it in Shakespeare? You're about to watch Hamlet. You might see ahead.
You get them on a Netflix film if you watch that. They're always on Netflix. Sometimes it makes you think, oh, I'll watch this because it's got violence, nudity and bad language. I could see for people who don't know a play, maybe it's helpful. I'm not saying they're great. But what triggers me in a theatre is uncomfortable seating, somebody really tall in front.
Somebody on their phone.
Somebody with
we need trigger warnings for that.
Individual